I see you. I see you, which is a South African term. It's a South African greeting. Instead of saying hello, you say I see you, which means I recognize you. But see, beyond that, in talking about how Maat plays into all this, it also means I see into you. I see into you. Again, the root of Maat is Ma'a. I see, to see. Humorously, at one point, Netiri, as she's trying to teach this the male avatar Jake their ways, because the fact that their ways are so more elevated, so much more highly elevated, and they're in such a deeper connection to everything. She hits him in the head and calls him the equivalent of a moron. Well, actually, our Kemetic ancestors considered the outsiders that tried to come in or did come in to their area, they considered them to be like children. In fact, she says to them, "You're like," she says to the avatar, "You're like baby," and that's how the Kemites regarded the others, because the fact that their civilization was so highly evolved, and it was going to have to take work in order for the rest of the world to catch up to the high place that was sustained by the Kemites before invaders came in and started destroying. Okay, I had to stop and take a little break and finish my art project for this show. I got changed and cut out a series of ankhs from corrugated cardboard. Trace half of an ankh on some lined paper, fold the paper in half actually. Then draw half of an ankh, cut it out, and then use it on cardboard. I made a dozen. And so trace it all on the cardboard first, and then paint it on one side, cut it out, painted it gold on either side, and I'm going to end up putting a cowrie shell right there, I believe. But I did that so I could create my message of this being a tree of life, which, if you watched the last Ashe, you learned was something that came from Kemetic culture. And also you learned that the goddess was believed to reside within the tree and that she would nourish these souls. Just like in the movie Avatar, the trees factored in heavily. They represented life, spirituality, and the ancestors. And there was a tree of souls, which of course fed the souls. And so the correlations just keep on coming. Now here's another cultural thing. Now you noticed how the Navi people, they would take their braid, the long braid that extended, that was in the back, and they would plug in the tip or the queue. They would plug in to the plants or the animals. And that's no different than our beliefs about wearing locks. Locks, we believe, are our antennas. And truly, the way it's supposed to be is that when you get to a place of spiritual balance and evolution, then you're able to handle all the energy that you're receiving from wearing locks, because the fact that it really does heighten your psychic and spiritual sensitivity to your environment, and it connects you. You feel that interconnectedness. The destruction of Pandora, it's the same as what's been happening since the very beginning, since Kemet began to be plundered because of gold and other resources, and all over Africa. In countries where there are people of color, generally the resources are taken, the people are displaced, or they're killed, or they're forced to go into labor for the powers that be in order to help to take the resources that naturally belong there to the land. And in order to make that stop, what do we have to do? As the people in the film did, the people from all over Pandora, the Navi people, they gathered together with the other tribes and they fought the oppressors. Jake, who was one of the avatars, came to realize just how wrong he was in his role of trying to help the powers that be come in and destroy this beautiful place. He was not nearly as evolved as the Navi people were, and he realized, along with the teacher, was her name Grace, that they were the savages going into this highly evolved world. They humbled themselves and wanted to learn how to become like that. Through redemption, which is a common theme throughout Kemetic spirituality, Redemption comes through humbling yourself and yielding to the higher powers in order to make yourself more evolved. That's when balance starts to take place. And also the whole notion that, okay, here we have the great white hope that comes in to save the people of Pandora. And at first I started to go there, but then I let the rest of the movie play out, and seeing how it all came together, I realized this is another continuation of the Maat theme. Why? Because if you create destruction, if you create problems, it is incumbent upon you, once you are aware of the fact that you are wrong, to then fix it. Therefore, since he helped to bring in all of that destruction, he had to do something in his awakened consciousness to fix it. That's balance. That's Maat, and that is fair. Now, talking even further about Maat, Neytiri, when she finally sees Jake for the first time, and he's in his frail human form, and he's so small, and his body is broken, and she sees him, and she lovingly picks him up, and she says, I see you. Maat means that you see past all of the external. You see into somebody. And truly, she seemed to love him even more because she got to see all of him for who he really, really was. That's Maat. Maat sees the big picture, and Maat is higher love. A lot of people are always talking about Maat. People don't realize you're talking about a higher love, because through it you see the interrelatedness of everything, and you're able to see with the balanced heart. I want to say one more thing about how the Navi people came together from all over Pandora, all of the different tribes. Everyone came together. If people of consciousness come together, people who are really of a balanced heart and who truly can see, who are in a place of Maat, who want to bring balance and overthrow destruction, then you come together. One last point. Something that was glaringly obvious to me was this. We have a lot of avatars all across the internet. I want to say this especially to my people. We are in a place of desperately trying to reclaim what was taken from us in terms of culture and spirituality. We are grabbing here and there and everywhere that we can, every little bit and piece that we can find, in order to try to figure out who we are. As we're on our journey, unfortunately, we can sometimes get caught up with people who seem like they're on the journey, but are actually there to lead you astray. Just because somebody comes talking at you with a dashiki, or with a kaftan, and with a gele, and talking all the lingo, the consciousness and all of this, doesn't necessarily mean that they have your best interest at heart. I have a chapter in my book, the Cowrie Blessings book, New African Words of Wisdom, that I just added, called Polly Want a Talk Show? Because there are talk shows all across the internet with hosts who have an iota of knowledge. They bounce from place to place to place, listening to what they can to try to be able to repeat what they've heard. But if you were to press them in personal conversation over an extended period of time, you would find out that they know nothing. Their wisdom is wisdom. It's not true wisdom. Wisdom comes by experience, extensive experience, along with applied knowledge. I urge you, listen with your heart. Listen with your intuitive first eye and watch and see. Pair that with your intellect. Intellect, first eye, balanced heart. Open enough to be able to see what you need to see. Ask for Maat to show you the truth. And ask also for people who are truly balanced and who have your best interest at heart to join with you as we work together to make change on the planet. Now, speaking of trees, at the very end of the last show, I said we would talk about the whole apple tree thing.